What's up, people? My name is Anthony Brinson. Some people just call me Brinson. And welcome to the What's on Your Mind podcast. Some things may be insightful. Sometimes things may be controversial. Some things may just be random. And sometimes there may be a huge lack of filter depending on who I have on the show. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, I will always try to respectfully speak about what's on my mind. You may not agree with everything I say or every opinion a guest of mine may have. And that is okay. Trust me. We may not even agree with each other on my own show, and that's fine. But I will always be grateful for the discussion, regardless of what we may agree or disagree upon. And I will always appreciate everyone who listens to me or decides to be a guest on my show. There's a code of honor I've made for myself in this platform, that every joke and opinion will be as respectful as it can be. Over here, no matter what someone may have to say, it will be heard. And any topic I or my guests discuss will be talked about as respectful as possible. I can't control what comes out of another person's mouth, but I can control the standard I hold myself to as a host. We're here to have fun and also talk about some things that are important to discuss. So tell me really, what's on your mind? All right, y'all. Y'all saw the title. I really wanted this first episode to be about this topic because that's mainly what this platform is going to discuss. It's going to be fully based on opinions and fully based on how other people think. And that is okay. That is completely fine. The problem sometimes comes about when others use their right to have an opinion to tear down others. That's why I titled this The Beauty and Terror of Having an Opinion. Because it's a beautiful thing. You could think about it in both aspects. It's a beautiful thing that I can just walk up to somebody, or I could make a platform to discuss my opinions. What would be bad, and what a lot of people in this world do, is tear others down based on either a different opinion or just their own opinion. You see a lot of times in the world, people are either homophobic or fatphobic because they really think that their opinion may matter over the other. Or they may think what the other person doing is wrong or not okay, or whatever is their standard of this how it should be. It actually ties into another topic that I'll discuss at a later time, but you see a lot of this in religion. Specifically, in my opinion, in the Christian religion, you will get some Christians who feel as though there's a certain way to serve God. And that's not, just for a spoiler for one of my future topics, that's not something I believe in. And I personally feel that you shouldn't really care about what another person chooses to do in their life. And if someone has a different opinion than you, then that should be okay to you. That should be normal. If everyone walked around and agreed on every single thing, we would be robots. We would be machines. We wouldn't be unique. We wouldn't have any personality to ourselves that makes us stand out from one another. And if you have a different opinion than I do, and I have a different opinion than you, then I shouldn't feel disrespected by you. I shouldn't disrespect you. I shouldn't talk down on your name based on a difference in opinion. I feel as though everyone should have a right to an opinion, but everyone doesn't necessarily need to express their opinions. It reminds me of a conversation I had with someone else about the difference between a preference and a type. And anyone can have a preference on anything, but I look at having a type as only appreciating one aspect of something. Like if a guy has a type on women, for example, I personally feel that's kind of strange, just because if they only are attracted to one archetype, let's say, of a human, I don't know. That's not something I personally feel. Now, having a preference, you can prefer this, you can prefer that. The problem is when someone, in my opinion, when they use a preference or a type to kind of rank other things or other people. Like if they feel person A looks better than person B. That's totally fine. No one really cares though. If you like person A, if you like this about person A more than you like something about person B, then it doesn't matter. That's just your own opinion. You don't need to then go on and say that this person is better than them because I like certain attributes about them. That's personally not something that I feel should be done, and that's not how I go about things. And to make this more interesting, I'm going to bring these opinions up as I have guests, but I'm going to share a few of my personal opinions, and then as I have guests or as whoever takes the time to listen to this, they can tell me whether they agree with these opinions or not. But I remember a story before the first opinion I'm going to get to, because I have a funny story. I'm going to get to my top 10 NBA players of all time, personally. And funny story, I always joke with a group of my friends who might eventually be on this show. Their favorite player is Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace to one of the greatest basketball players to ever play this game. And they're strong on their belief that Kobe Bryant is the greatest basketball player of all time, right? And even though they're in the minority, because Kobe fans, people who respect Kobe enough to feel he's the greatest of all time at what he did, even though they may be in the minority of thinking he's number one, there's a lot of them out there. And I expressed a disagreement in that opinion. And I had facts to back up my opinion, because at the end of the day, it's their opinion versus mine. There's no right or wrong. I had facts to back up my opinion, and for lack of better words, they weren't interested in what I had to say. And some of them in particular got a bit blunt, let's just use that word, in expressing how my opinion was less than. And from that moment on, I told them that I'm done debating basketball, that I no longer am going to express my thoughts with them in a detailed manner, because while they are my friends, while they are people who are close to me, it puts me in a position to where I feel as though I'm just less than, like I said, less than of a person, just because I have a different opinion than you. But no harm, no foul. Their opinion's never going to change, and if it does, then they'll express it, but they have a right to an opinion just like I do. So with that being said, my personal top 10 list can change. It's not dead set. I feel the first two spots are dead set, but any of these can be switched around. And I'm going to start off 1 to 10. I'm going to start like that for a reason as you listen to this. But right off the bat, I personally feel Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't have all the analytics off the top of my head, but the things he done in his career with the accomplishments just solidifies what greatness is to me. Just off the top, what I can think of: 10-time scoring champion, 6-time NBA champion, never lost in the NBA Finals, 6-time Finals MVP. There are many things to me that puts him in the upper echelon in his own tier of basketball and where he's at in number one. My second favorite player of all time would be my favorite player of all time also, in LeBron James. Probably the greatest or the best all-around player of basketball, with a lot of accomplishments himself: 4-time champion, multiple-time MVP, multiple-time final appearances. For me, and I'll give a reason why I rank them the way I do. For me, LeBron James would be second. If I had to choose one reason, I have multiple reasons. I feel Jordan, let's say if we're comparing LeBron and Jordan, I feel Jordan's a better scorer, and that's probably it. But I feel, off the top of my head, there are just some things that Jordan did better than LeBron. But if I had to choose one thing, it would be his performance in the 2011 finals. To put it short, Michael Jordan never lost. And there will be people who go back and forth on, let's say Jordan had better teams, Jordan didn't play as good as competition. That's, again, the beauty of an opinion. People would agree or disagree based on what they believe to be their standard of greatness. And LeBron James, in my personal opinion, didn't play up to par in those finals. And it's one of it's really the only main stain on his resume for me personally, because he has other losses. He's lost to the Spurs in 2007 and lost to the Golden State dynasty a couple times, or I think once or twice. He lost to them twice in 2015, I think 2017 as well. I can't remember if they also played in 2018, because I remember they won 2 championships. I think it was 2017, 2018, and 2015. LeBron James lost to the Warriors. Correct me if I'm wrong if you're listening to this. And I don't really look at those as too big of a deal as far as rankings, because in 2015, 2 of his co-stars were injured, and in the other times he lost, he played against probably the greatest team of all time in the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, etc. But for me, there's nothing more I can ask for LeBron James. He's done almost everything. He's carried multiple teams to championships. He's proven himself in my eyes. Just the highest I can personally rank him is second of all time. Number 3, I'm going to personally put Kobe Bryant. And even this ranking, depending on who you talk to, is too high or too low. Contrary to popular belief, and I know I've been told just because I don't look at him as the greatest of all time that I don't respect him enough, I'm going to say, in my opinion, Kobe Bryant is the greatest Laker of all time. And his way of showing greatness was more than just on the court. There's a phrase that some people may use as a joke, some people may use seriously, but he created the idea of Mamba mentality. His nickname was the Mamba in basketball, and his mindset going into the game was different from everyone else's. He looked at things as though they're not going to get accomplished unless he works hard for it. He's going to wake up. If the team's meeting at the gym at 8 a.m., he's going to be there at 5, 6 a.m. If practice starts at a certain time, he's going to be a couple hours early. He's going to do above and beyond, really above and beyond, just to make sure that he is at the standard he looks at himself. And outside of the NBA, there's controversy around some things he may have went through in his personal life. I don't feel that's my place to talk about on this platform. But if we're just keeping it who Kobe Bryant was as a basketball player and as a personality, he's respected for a reason. He's held to the standard he's held at for a reason. He truly is a symbol of greatness. Every time, if you've ever sat in school, every time someone shoots a paper ball in the basket, acts as though it's a basketball and a trash can, most of the time they don't say LeBron, they don't say Jordan, they say Kobe for a reason. He was a role model for young men, for men everywhere, especially young black men. They looked up to people like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James as people who they can model themselves after in some sort of way. And for me, the respect I have for Kobe Bryant, again, rest his soul, and his daughter and the people who were in that accident, the respect I have for him as a player is almost unmatched. I know he doesn't have the greatest playoff moments. I know he doesn't have the greatest accolades. I know he played with Shaquille O'Neal. That personally doesn't matter in ranking him where I do. Also, a criteria you may see in my personal rankings list is I prefer, for the most part, there will be some differences here and there, but I prefer the smaller players who are able to do more on the court than, let's say, the centers. For example, as I'm going to get to my list, I have Bird and Magic over Shaquille O'Neal, who I have in my top 10. That doesn't mean that any of them would be not respected as such. I respect everybody I have on this list. My personal preference is I just prefer smaller players who can do more on the court than just have that ability to be tall and dominate. One of the exceptions I do have at the 4th spot is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Again, a polarizing player, probably has one of the most unstoppable, if not the most unstoppable shot of all time in the hook shot. He was 7 feet tall, and his presence was made on the court, whether it was due to his size or his impact in the game of basketball. He had a teammate that's also in my top 10 who's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, I personally feel the greatest point guard of all time, in Magic Johnson. And they were called Showtime Lakers for a reason. They were called the Showtime Lakers because when they were on TV, everyone paid attention. Even if you weren't fans of them, even if you wanted them to lose, people paid attention enough to see what they're going to do on the court. 5, probably another controversial opinion, especially with me being a black man. I know a lot of black sports NBA fans prefer one over the other, but I have Magic Johnson under Larry Bird, and I have Larry Bird at the 5th spot, and I have Magic Johnson at the 6th spot. I definitely feel no matter where you rank them, they should be like right after each other, just because they were so close in their skill of basketball. My personal reason why I have Bird over Magic, I just personally feel Bird is the better player, while Magic may have 2 more championships, and I'm pretty sure 1 more Finals MVP. Besides passing, I personally don't feel Magic was better than Larry Bird in anything else. I feel Larry Bird was the better scorer, shooter, defender, rebounder, and all-around player. And when you look in depth into their matchup of when they played each other in the finals and how they performed, it's very close. I have no problem at all with people who put Magic over Larry Bird because, again, it's very close, and I feel they should be neck and neck. But I personally prefer Larry Bird's play over Magic Johnson. And at the 7th spot, I have another one of my favorite players, my favorite center of all time, Shaquille O'Neal. He's regarded as one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant player of all time in NBA, and rightfully so. He was pretty much 700. He was pretty much 7 feet, 300 pounds of pure muscle and athleticism. He was nearly unstoppable on the court because he was just bigger than everyone. He was bigger than everyone, and he could jump over them as well. He's had moments where he's literally broken the backboard of the rim because he dunked it so hard. 4-time NBA champion, 3-time with the Los Angeles Lakers, 3-time Finals MVP. Just a dominant presence on the court and outside of basketball. He's been retired for a while, but he became an NBA analyst, and he changed the way basketball is covered. He's an entertainer at heart, and he's truly, from what we can see on the TV, a truly fun-loving person. Not that that affects my rating at all, because that's not on the court. It's just something that should be mentioned when you know Shaquille O'Neal. Some people may not even know Shaquille O'Neal from the basketball court. They may know him from Papa John's video or whatever random thing you may see him in, just because he makes himself known and he makes his presence known. And number 8, I have someone who nearly had the perfect career in Tim Duncan. Only lost 1 finals, was a huge part of the rest of the one he's won. 5-time NBA champion, could have been 6-time NBA champion if it wasn't for one of the greatest shots in finals history with Ray Allen. And there's not much I can say about him. He really didn't say much in his career. He was kept to himself and a quiet person. Dominant, former Finals MVP, former MVP, I'm sure of, 5-time champion. There's really huge, multiple-time defensive all-team. There's not much I can say other than he nearly had the perfect career, and not many people have that. At number 9, I have Hakeem Olajuwon, former Houston Rockets player, maybe the greatest Houston Rocket outside of maybe James Harden of all time. If I were to say this ranking to Shaquille O'Neal, who I have over him, he would probably disagree with me himself and say, no, Hakeem Olajuwon is better than me. One of Hakeem's championships back in the day was against a young Shaquille O'Neal. And to this day, players go to him to learn lessons, even if they're not a center. His ability to do everything on the court, especially at a time where centers weren't asked to do so, with being able to shoot, being able to have good footwork, as Shaq would say, good feet work, and to be able to have that presence on the court to where no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing, he's a problem. He's going to lock you down. He's going to shoot over you. He's going to go in the post. There's really nothing he couldn't do on the basketball court. And at number 10, the reason why I went from 1 to 10 and saved it last is because I truly don't know who to put here. There's a name that was also talked about amongst my friends before this recording. Stephen Curry is one of the greatest players of all time. And if you were to force me to put someone here, it would be Steph Curry. And depending on At the time of my recording of this, the Golden State Warriors are 3-2 in NBA Finals. And if he wins this championship and takes home the Finals MVP, he may be top 5 all time. I know the discussion of greatest point guards of all time are between him, Magic Johnson, and let's say Isaiah Thomas, former Detroit Piston. And there's nothing Steph Curry doesn't do. His off-ball movement combined with his shooting almost single-handedly changed the game of basketball. Teams have their game plan on how we're going to stop Steph Curry and how we're going to keep up with Steph Curry and the Warriors' way of basketball. There are many old heads who disregard their greatness sometimes, the Golden State Warriors, just because all they do is shoot threes. They do it because they're great at it. They're better than everyone in the league. And you're not going to beat the Golden State Warriors unless you form to their style of basketball. Really, Steph Curry style of basketball. He's the system. Another controversial opinion that's been talked about since we're on the topic of Steph Curry is him and Kevin Durant's role in the Golden State dynasty. Off the bat, I'm going to say before I continue talking, Kevin Durant is not better than Steph Curry, really in any regard. But the main argument that people have had, in my opinion, the main argument people have had is he's more skilled than Steph Curry. I would even go as far as disagreeing with that, because I would ask them, is moving off ball a skill? Because if so, he does that better than Kevin Durant. And there's a huge back and forth, which aggravates me in some regard, of KD's decision to go to the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people, nearly everyone, criticizes him and say it was a weak move for him to play for the team that just beat him and go on a stacked team and win the championships. While I do agree it was a weak move, I don't blame him one bit. I would rather have Kevin Durant's 2 weak championships, quote unquote, than Charles Barkley 0 championships, right? And no matter what he did, he was going to get criticized. If he never went to Golden State and didn't get no championships, he would be one of the stars that never got a championship. Now that he's gotten them, they don't count because he was on a stacked team. Again, like I mentioned earlier, that dynasty when Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, etc. were on the same team is probably the greatest team ever assembled. And if you want to have the conversation of basketball integrity, you can take that away from Kevin Durant because he chose his legacy first. But I have no problem with him choosing to have championships rather than to not have championships. Now, as a huge LeBron fan, I hated it when they played against LeBron. And that's why to this day, I'm still a Warriors hater. And for a long time, I was a Steph Curry hater, but just because they were beating LeBron, just because they were good. But what I don't like about that conversation even more is the idea that Steph Curry needed him. I agreed that they needed each other, but Kevin Durant needed the Warriors more than the Warriors needed Kevin Durant, or especially more than Steph Curry needed Kevin Durant, in my opinion. Just because the Warriors did it without him, and they're probably about to do it again in this current time. And Kevin Durant has done nothing without the Warriors significant as far as winning. Without Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, 1, they lost to the Golden State Warriors, and 2, Kevin Durant just got swept in these finals. So, and against the same team, Steph Curry's probably going to beat them and obtain the Finals MVP. So the conversation of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry is closed, in my opinion. It was closed the moment Kevin Durant got swept, because against the same team, Steph Curry is almost averaging 30 points, if not over 30 points against them. And he's probably going on to get his 4th championship and first Finals MVP if he plays well. And by the way, those championships would double Kevin Durant. The only reason Kevin Durant has championships is because of Steph Curry and the Warriors. There's a picture that's gone around of Kevin Durant being one-on-one, having the basketball, and Steph Curry being guarded by multiple people. Those pictures aren't photoshopped. The teams that defended them focused on Steph Curry to get him out of the picture, and that allowed Kevin Durant to be as open as he is. So the 10th spot for me right now is in question because I don't know how Steph Curry how Steph Curry's legacy is going to be impacted in these finals. If he loses, I'm going to keep him at 10 personally. That's as high as I'm going to put him. If he wins and doesn't get the finals MVP, I may put him 7th at highest, still under Magic and Bird, just because I know it doesn't matter to some, but the finals MVP matters. And I do also feel that he was cheated out of a finals MVP upon further review in 2015. And Iguodala just got it just for literally checking LeBron. Like, just because you checked LeBron James and y'all won, you got the finals MVP. I do agree with that. But at the end of the day, the decision was made that he doesn't have it. And for me, the finals MVP shows you played the best in those finals on the winning team. Now, again, in 2015, I feel he was cheated, so it's not accurate. It's not 100% accurate. And really, depending on the agenda and the narrative, the decision of who gets finals MVP may not even be fair. But I personally need him to at least obtain one for me to consider him the greatest point guard of all time. With that being said, let me think of some opinions that would most likely offend people or just disagree with. I know for sure, because I've told people this opinion and they look at me like I'm crazy, but Chick-fil-A is the most overrated restaurant I've ever eaten. Like, it was unbelievable how overrated it was. I'm not gonna go into detail as to why I didn't like the food, just in case you never know they hear this and they be like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure he don't succeed in life. But it just didn't taste good to me, except the mac and cheese and the Polynesian sauce, however you pronounce it. That was really good, but I forget it. The chicken tasted like elementary school chicken, or like elementary lunch chicken, especially the chicken nuggets. And then I think I had a biscuit. It was kind of like dry. I don't know. Chick-fil-A is not as good as people say it is. Give me Popeyes any day of the week. And just to allude to a future episode that I'm going to have, as you may or may not know, depending on if you know me, if you're listening to this, I'm a really big anime fan. And it's kind of hard ranking my favorite animes or what I feel are the greatest animes of all time, because I'm not that old. I haven't watched enough to rank them. But what I will say right now, one, Dragon Ball, I'm never going to rank Dragon Ball. And I'm going to talk about this in one of my next episodes. That anime specifically means so much to me, and what it holds, the place it holds in my heart, I can't call it anything but the greatest of all time, biasedly. Now, unbiasedly, I feel Attack on Titan is better than Dragon Ball, and I feel Death Note is greater than Dragon Ball. At this moment, Death Note is the greatest anime I've ever watched, in my personal opinion. And I'm going to talk about it more in my, maybe the next episode I upload. No, it's going to be this. I'm going to talk about it in a couple episodes after this. But the psychological warfare that anime has it's unlike no other. It's like Attack on Titan on steroids for me. But with that being said, I'm going to end it here. This was it feels like, it has me excited, but also a huge sign of relief to finally record this first episode and get this out there. Because I've been talking about a podcast and making a podcast for a very, very long time. And since this is the rookie podcast, and especially because I don't have no way to edit the mistakes with the way I'm recording this, I'm going to leave them all in there just so it can feel as authentic as a first episode of a podcast will or should feel like. And I'm going to make sure I try and improve on any mistakes I may have made, and so I can put out the best product out there, because I'm going to treat this as a job. I'm going to treat this as hundreds of thousands of people are listening to me, and my opinion can hold weight, because I feel like I should go about this as professional as I can, because at the end of the day, anybody can sit on their phone and talk. The people who are listening to this, you could listen to anything else right now, and yet you're giving me 30 minutes of my time, an episode, or however long episode may be. I can't be more grateful for that. And I really appreciate, I'm going to say this, I'm going to try to say this at the end of every episode. I really appreciate you, whoever you are out there, listening to me talk and ramble on the random thoughts on my mind. And until next time, this has been Anthony Brenton. Peace out.